We can't afford to wait for a vaccine. Oh, we got some brilliant minds working on the problem. But the process can only go so fast. When you're testing a vaccine, you need to get people from every imaginable demographic, tens of thousands of them, to sign up. There are all sorts of criteria, though. I just got turned down for a vaccine trial because I took a steroid shot to ease the pain from a partially torn rotator cuff. What's that got to do with COVID? Go figure. But it's not just enrolling lots of people. You need those people to take stupid risks, like hitting up a bunch of restaurants in Florida or maybe a couple bars in New York. Otherwise, you can't know the vaccine works, and that's a tough sell. So in the meantime, well, we got to take what we can get. We can do the social distancing, fine outside, not so good inside. At Bar San Miguel, we just got the green light to have 25% of our place open. Oh, we can seat 12 people. That means we're going to have to mothball the joint until there's a vaccine, because no independent restaurant could possibly raise prices enough to make up the lost revenue from the other 60 people we were expecting tonight. We can do masks, but everyone's got to wear them. My personal doctor, John LaPoog, just did a great piece for CBS where he interviewed two professors who explained there's a gigantic amount of evidence now that masks can stop the spread. That's why Mark Benioff from Salesforce sponsored our mask competition with the nonprofit X Prize. You can see how we're doing by going to xprize.org/masks, where hundreds of kids sent entries. Mark and I, who both contributed, are proud. Unlike what you hear, masks protect you as well as the asymptomatic spreaders. We also have testing. Right now, the standard is a thing called the polymerase chain reaction test, the PCR, where they take a swab of your nose and run it through these big machines. They're like the size of a sofa. Depending on the backlog, you can get your results back in as little as a few hours or as long as a week. Problem is, a week's a long time. You might be really sick for days without knowing it unless you quarantine while you wait for the results, and you're going to spread the virus to the rest of us. Overnight is better, but still not great. Look at the NFL, where players were tested Saturday, then showed up positive on Sunday, causing game cancellations. Well, actually, it showed up positive Monday, but it ended up canceling the rest of the games. A few hours mattered. Not many labs can get them done that quickly. So here's the best hope. It's a new PCR test from Visby, V-I-S-B-Y. You can Google it. Visby Medical. It's actually handheld and single use. So if the Tennessee Titans had 53 Visbys at, say, $200 a pop, they could test all at once, get the results in a half hour, and avoid another game day cancellation. Remember that. See, you got to test that morning, all right? They come in. You got 53 of them lined up. They can all test at once, get it in a half hour, and then anybody who is got COVID or tests positive can get out. This test just got an emergency use authorization from the FDA, and if Visby can scale up production, we'll have them on next week. I think this could be the most powerful weapon yet in the fight against COVID. Yeah, it's real. Then there are the inexpensive instant tests I'm always talking about, like the Abbott Labs test. You can take it at your local pharmacy. Results coming up 15 minutes later for $5. They're not as accurate as PCR tests, but they're fast, and they come up with an app that could be used as a certificate of good health to get you into all sorts of events that might not be safe otherwise. Remember, with testing, great is the enemy of good, and you're not going to be able to do as well as the PCR, which is much more expensive. Taken separately, none of these things seems like a game changer at all, right? But taken together, social distancing, masking, the instant test, the PCR, the quick PCR, I think we have everything we need to get back to something close to normal, at least in theory. Will we actually use these tools to contain COVID? Well, that's another question. It will require real leadership from both the private sector and every level of government, so maybe you shouldn't hold your breath. But man, we have the technology to beat this thing. So do other countries. But we've got to use it like they do. I like to say there's always a bull market somewhere, and I promise to try to find it just for you, right here on Mad Money. I'm Jim Cramer, and I will see you tomorrow. The News with Shepard Smith starts now.